polar opposite of Trey Lance is Kyle Trask. And I think this is an important discussion as well, because the two quarterbacks I think the Niners are going to have the best chance to get are Lance and Trask. They're going to have to choose between these two guys. I don't think Fields and Wilson will be there. These two will be. Lance will probably they can take him with the 9th pick only or the first round pick only. Trask, you might be able to get him in round 2. Trask has 2 years of starting experience in the SEC. His numbers are impeccable, and he is slow. He is not the prototypical quarterback in 2020. In 2005, absolutely. In 2005, with this resume, he would have been the number 2 pick in the draft after Lawrence. In 2020, people are like, dude, you are slow. So what do you think, man? What are your thoughts on Kyle Trask? Are you saying dude is slow?
Yeah, I'm saying dude is slow. I liked Kyle Trask. I like his size. I like his poise. I like his movement. For all the things you want to get into about his arm, which it is, he throws only one type of ball, and that's a floater. And you do want to, right? He has been accurate when he has to go, and he's been a good decision maker. He's been a very good college quarterback. I think to rip on him, too many people are going a little crazy with the criticism and going a little overblown. He's a good player. He is really a good player. I think the comp, I've seen it. My comp was Mason Rudolph. I've seen Ryan Finley. I liked Ryan Finley coming out of college, so I think that's fair. But I think he's better than both. But at the end of the day, my thing with Kyle Trask is it comes back to here's where I'll say it comes back to Shanahan's comment. He wants a guy who he could say who has the opportunity to be a top flight guy and be one of the best guys. And for me, from a physical standpoint, Trask just doesn't have that ability. I know you're high on Trask, and Trask might have the highest floor of all these guys just because he's had the most reps. Dan Mullen, the concepts kind of simulate a pro style offense. He's had to throw a lot. He's had a lot of reps reading SEC defenses and stuff that way. But I just think that he might already be at his maximum capacity. Who knows? I actually kind of like Mac Jones a little bit more just because I think he has a better arm. But I'm not sure I just sit here and say I love Mac Jones, because here's where I'll lay it out, and I think most 49ers fans will agree with me. You can't, because you're not a fan, so you won't really understand this. But the Niners have to deal with Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson in their division for at least the next 8 years. Those two guys are top 10 quarterbacks. I think Murray has the ability to be a top 5 quarterback. Russell Wilson already is a top 5 quarterback. Goff, for all his faults, I think he's like the 21st best quarterback or 22nd best quarterback in the NFL. Has started 16 games for four years in a row now, and he's got good numbers. So what I don't want is a guy with the maximum. What I don't want in the next quarterback from a fan's perspective is a guy whose maximum ability is to just be the 3rd best quarterback in this division. Because I just think that over time, that's going to you're not going to have the winning success that you deserve when you have this level of coaching staff and a George Kittle and a Fred Warner and a Nick Bosa. So that's where I push back on both Trask and Jones. I watched the game, Florida versus Alabama, and I said I wouldn't want either of these guys.
Okay, well, let me make the case for Trask in that sense. To me, it's like the NFL scouting is flipped. 15 years ago, everyone was like, well, you got to be a pocket passer. You got to be a pro-style passer. So these dual threat guys would just go down to the 2nd and 3rd round, and they should have been picked higher because the teams weren't looking for the best quarterback. They were looking for a type of quarterback.
Right.
And so they would swing and miss on guys who fit the profile and whiff on guys who didn't fit the profile but played this position a different way. Now it's flipped. Now you got to be dual threat. You got to be a dual threat. And so that to me means that there are going to be a couple of guys, Justin Fields, maybe Trey Lance, who fit the profile but are basically fool's gold. And then you got a guy who doesn't fit the profile but has the resume and is just a objectively good quarterback in his style, but is pushed down because he's no longer what teams are looking for. When I see Trask, I see a combination of Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger. Now, maybe he's not going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but I think, and maybe if Peyton Manning were coming out in 2020 and Ben Roethlisberger were coming out in 2020, they wouldn't have the same success they had 20 years ago because the game has changed, and they really are statues. But from what he's done, he has no running game. He led them in rushing attempts against Alabama. He drops back and throws without any real offensive line or misdirection or anything to help him, and he dices up the SEC. I think he's an example of people having their biases. He doesn't play quarterback the way people want him to play anymore, so he's a second-round pick. And that's a guy that's interesting to me because he has the resume. He's got the accuracy. He's got the vision. He's got the poise and the pocket movement to be at least very good in the NFL. He's not going to be Mahomes. He will not be Josh Allen. He's not going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. But, hey, it doesn't mean Trey Lance is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL either. I feel like this guy is can't miss. Freaking can't miss. And if it were 15 years ago, he'd be a top 5 pick.
I mean, that's a lot to digest.
So I tried my best, Vish. How did I do?
I mean, I think you went a little far when you threw out Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger. I see where you're coming from if I just completely forget that you said Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger.
I can't get that out of my head.
Yeah, I think that's what people are going to get stuck up on now. But
his resume is legit. You can't be like, well, his resume isn't there. I mean, you compare his numbers to Trevor Lawrence's numbers. They're just as good, if not better. He plays in a tougher conference. Everything that you have to say negatively about Trask is stylistic. It's like, it's not going to translate. He's not fast enough. Well, it worked in the most athletic conference in college football. And it didn't just work a little bit. It worked like a whole lot every single game, even against Alabama. So I just feel like that's a safe bet. I don't know. But maybe I'm wrong.
We'll see.
I have a terrible track record of drafting quarterbacks. Let's keep it pushing.